So you definitely read the title or the thumbnail correctly. It appears that someone representing Tizzy is putting me on notice. But before we get into that, I want to talk about two quick topics, I promise, and then we get into the tea with Tizzy. One of them is a little bit hilarious because it shows a little bit of how kind of idiotic some of our state governments are. And another one is a bit more nefarious, and it's one that I take a bit personal because I obviously have a bias because I'm a father. But let's get into the first one. Now, everyone and their mama that loves to hate on California, it probably took tons of joy in seeing all these articles and videos come out about our government here in California saying that by 2035, they want to get rid of all gas-powered vehicles, which essentially means that if car manufacturers want to continue operating their business in California, they're only going to be allowed to sell electric vehicles. At the same time, that same day, I want to say, or at least that same week, they're like, oh, by the way, with this spike that's coming, this heat wave, please don't use that much electricity. Of course, it left many people feeling like, what did you just say? So out of the blaze, Californians are urged to avoid charging electric vehicles days after state announced ban on new sales of gas-powered cars by 2035. The article also goes on to say that California energy managers are warning that an unexpected heat wave over Labor Day weekend could cause blackouts and are urging state residents to conserve energy, which is bad news for who? Exactly, you guessed it, electric vehicle owners. The California Independent System Operator, a nonprofit that manages the power grid for 80% of California and a smaller part of Nevada, issued a bulletin Tuesday announcing that the extreme heat conditions are likely to strain the grid with increased energy demands, especially over the holiday weekend, which is another point, right? When do people most of the time do, the vast majority of their travel? During holidays. So if you're wondering, what the hell is California thinking? In my opinion, this is nothing more but another political stunt. Listen, I'm not against, trying to move into a more green future, right? I'm all for that. However, pushing initiatives like this doesn't make California look good, especially when we're talking about such a short timeline. 10 years, it may sound like a lot to some people, but it really isn't. Now, it's no secret that states have crippling electrical infrastructures, and California is not the exception. California, to be fair, is a large state. And for that specific reason, many people have come out and heavily criticized California because, in a way, it's like, what the F are you thinking? Trying to push everyone to buy an electric vehicle. Not to mention the additional ramifications that this decision is going to have on things like jobs. And if you're thinking jobs, yeah, let's think about all the manufacturing jobs. Let's think about all the gas station jobs, mechanics, and the list goes on. And before, Timmy over there gets pissed off and it's like, whoa, hold on, dude, what about if you're charging on solar? Okay, well, Timmy, not everyone has solar as well. So just because you or your parents have solar doesn't mean everyone does have solar. Okay, I found this a little bit hilarious. There's a lot of videos, a lot of creators, poking fun at California, and honestly, rightfully so. Again, I'm not against green initiatives, but I'm not okay with states coming out here and trying to flex on people. I can already see the headlines as we get closer to 2035 of all the shit that we don't have ready here in California to go ahead and kick this live. But I also suspect that somewhere around the lines, they're going to be like, you know what, let's push it to like 2045 and then 2055. And you know what? Eventually, nobody will talk about this again. But as always, let me know, in the comments down below, those of you guys that are not in California, or even if you are in California, what do you think of initiatives like this? Let's move on, because the next topic is one that I want to say viewer discretion advice, listener discretion advice, because while I try to keep my language PG, the topic is a heavy one. So let's get into that one. So the first thing we're going to get into is the video that comes along with the story, and that is one that was filmed by a student in a classroom in El Paso, Texas.
Stop calling them that. You're not allowed to label people like that.
What?
Stop it. Yeah.
No,
We're not going to call them that. We're going to call them MAPs.
No.
Minor attracted persons.
No.
So don't judge people just because they want to have sex with a 5-year-old.
Yeah, no, you heard that correct. You heard that correct. Now, that video was making its rounds on TikTok, on Instagram, and, that clip, obviously, like most of the clips out online, they don't share the full story, right? We don't know what happened either right before the video started or right after, right when it ended. But the article does go on to explain a bit more of what happened, right? To give more context. The article tells us that another student that was in the classroom told CBS 4 that, he goes on to say that the teacher was expressing how ridiculous we as a society might not be able to call those people the P word, that we as a society will probably have to start calling them MAPs because it can be offensive to them, the P words. The class agreed. Ryan Rubalcaba, a junior at Franklin High School, said. He also said that he appreciates the teacher, right? and the topics that, that they review in class and stuff like that. So a lot of people are getting pissed off because they're like, hey, watch for your kids. These teachers are getting crazy. And what there have been plenty of teachers that I myself have said, what the hell were you thinking? It doesn't appear that this was one of the teachers, right? She was being maybe a little bit unorthodox and trying to get her point across, by being sarcastic about it. But it doesn't look like she was actually pushing for that. Doesn't mean, however, that there are not other people that are pushing for this, right? That they are saying, hey, maybe this is not the worst thing. And for that, we're going to go to a couple videos.
My name is Miranda. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a licensed professional counselor and sex therapist in Erie, Pennsylvania. And today I want to talk about minor attracted persons. And I want to talk about minor attracted persons because they are probably the most vilified population of folks in our culture. And most folks are making incorrect assumptions about them without actually knowing much about them. And those assumptions create harm for an already marginalized population.
A marginalized population making assumptions. Yeah, no, guilty. I am 100% guilty. Yeah, no, vilified? Did she say that you use a term vilify? We're vilifying? Excuse me? Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to vilify an individual that says, you know what? You see that 5-year-old over there? Look at the legs on her. Disgusting. I literally feel like my gag reflexes in my throat right now, just thinking that someone would have the effing audacity to come out on a video publicly and say, they're one of the marginalized communities. You have people of color, right? You have Native Americans, you have all these groups. MAPs? Same.
I use the term minor attracted person or MAP in the title and throughout the book for multiple reasons. First of all, because I think it's important to use terminology for groups that members of that group want others to use for them. And MAP advocacy groups like Before You Act have advocated for use of the term MAP. They've advocated for it primarily because it's less stigmatizing than other terms like pedophile.
I wonder why. I wonder why someone that knows they're doing something wrong, even if they're not like this guy's about to justify, have done the action, if you know what I mean, but have come out and said, you know what, really gets my marbles going. Again, is that 5-year-old over there. Those people are like, but I really don't want to be labeled, the P word. Boy. Why don't we just rebrand myself, right? It works for Disney. It works for all these other corporations, right? When they do a boo-boo, it might work for me as well. It's disgusting. It's beyond disgusting. The answer is no, okay? The answer is you are maybe not a criminal yet, because if you say you haven't acted on those impulses, but you're sick. You need help. And we shouldn't relabel it just because it hurts your feelings. We shouldn't relabel your mental problem, right? You have mental health issues, and it's a serious issue if that's what's crossing your mind. And no, we're not going to relabel your mental problem because, again, your feelings. It's disgusting.
A lot of people, when they hear the term pedophile, they automatically assume that it means a sex offender. And that isn't true, and it leads to a lot of misconceptions about attractions toward minors.
Wrong. No, I actually don't think automatically of an offender. If I hear someone it has that kind of, likings, fetishes, whatever you want to call them, but hasn't acted on them, I will still call them a damn P word. If they say, hey, your neighbor, good old neighbor, was such a kind guy or such a kind girl or whatever, right? Because both can be pedos, right? Gals and guys. And, they're like, they caught him or her with a whole bunch of stuff on their computer, and, they never act on it. It looks like, they paid their taxes, they were good citizens, but they're still going to haul them off to prison because of what they have in their computers. Guess what they're going to be called? A P word. So the logic behind this so-called scholar that he's saying like, oh, it's not okay because, it puts him in a bad light because they haven't really acted upon their impulses. I'm sorry, it's horseshit.
I've definitely heard the idea that you brought up, though, that the use of the term minor attracted person suggests that it's okay to be attracted to children. But using a term that communicates who someone is attracted to doesn't indicate anything about the morality of that attraction. From my perspective, there is no morality or immorality attached to attraction to anyone because...
The F there isn't. What are you talking about? You're supposed to be a guy. I want to say they said this guy had a PhD. How is it that you cannot have bad morals if you label yourself a MAP?
because no one can control who they're attracted to at all.
Yes, you can. You can absolutely effing control who you're attracted to. Absolutely.
In other words, it's not who we're attracted to that's either okay or not okay. It's our behaviors in responding to that attraction that are either okay or not okay. And I want to be extremely clear that child sexual abuse is never, ever okay.
So I'm going to stop the video there because, you know, the whole thing, he goes on, if you guys want to catch it on YouTube, I mean, he goes on to justify, right, by gaslighting and deflecting to some of the questions he was asked, and he thinks he'll be asked, of justifying the idiocy behind his statements, right? Like you just heard right now. Like, it's not about so much being attracted to someone that is a problem, that someone, including a 5-year-old. It's the fact that, you know, if you act on it, that's when it makes you an evil individual. So the number one thing, right, that anybody can come up with in terms of, you know, pushing back on this is like, okay, so will this apply now to like murderers? You know, someone that maybe has shared that they want to shoot down something, right? Let's just, you know, take something that's very prevalent here in the U.S. as well, school shooters, right? So should we not incarcerate? You know, when we try to stop these shooters that have plans, right, to shoot up something, a school, a store, something, should we not then not prosecute them and bring them to justice? Because, hey, they really didn't act on it. So, you know, we really shouldn't, you know, vilify them. I mean, there is no logic there. And this is why I've said this before in other videos, right? And for everyone listening, please pay attention. Just because someone boasts about their scholar accolades, right? I've said this before about like modern warrior and stuff like that, right? They usually do it only because they want you to take their word at face value, right? They want you to be convinced that because they have any kind of, you know, diplomas, any kind of, you know, certifications, that their word is already more valuable than your logic, right? That what they say becomes the rule of the land, simply because, again, they will say, oh, well, I graduated from here, or I have these, you know, these certificates, or I studied here. So that's the problem with people like this, right? That he will say, and again, in the beginning of the video, he was introduced as a guy that has all these degrees, right? And all of a sudden the guy, oh, I also wrote a book. Oh, well, okay, well, you totally know what the F you're talking about, and therefore I should adopt your principles and your morals and your ideologies. And this is garbage, right? I don't know, maybe he doesn't have kids. I don't know. I didn't look that deep into him, but maybe he doesn't. To me, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that he doesn't, because if you did have kids, or at least kids that you cared about, in my opinion, you wouldn't be trying to convince people to not vilify, right? To not stigmatize the disgusting ideas that someone with clear mental problems would have if they would be attractive as an adult to a minor. I will say that we should definitely, as parents, if you have children under your care or near your care, to watch out for this, because this, in my opinion, is going to get worse. But I'll leave it there. I think you guys get the picture. And now let's move on to, I think, what everyone really is here for. I think the vast majority of my viewers are going to be here for, and that is the cease and disease. Yeah, that's right. I want to say cease and desist, right? Because that's the terminology that normally you would get when someone tells you, hey, basically stop coming after me, stop talking about me. But I got a letter that says cease, check this out, cease and disease. Sorry, again, I get the words jumbled up because I want to say cease and desist, but cease and disease your harassment against Tizzy. And this, the Florida legal assistant expert said, Mr. Torres, and by the way, genius, it's with an S. It doesn't take a long time to Google that it's with an S. But nonetheless, he or she said, your latest video titled The Truth About Tizzy, also wrong, it's A Truth About Tizzy, is ridiculous. Is a ridiculous attempt to defame and damage my client's character. No, he did that to himself. Michael McWhorter, which can have serious legal ramifications. Everything you shared in your video has been taken out of context, as you only showed short clips of the videos in an attempt to mold a harmful narrative. No, what maybe you don't know is that that's how TikTok works. Your client uploaded those short clips. I didn't cut those clips at all. I showed the clips in its entirety. With this email, I'm advising you that you are hereby put on notice and ask that you refrain from making any future content about Michael McWhorter or his internet alias, TizzyEnt. Failure to stop your online harassment could result in a legal case brought up against you. Oh no. I agree with my client that this is the best part, by the way, that this attack from you feels like it is driven by jealousy because he is a bigger creator. Delete the video in your channel. Good day, sir. The Florida legal assistance experts. This is hilarious. So I tried to look for this company to be like, yo, what's your problem? Like, what are you saying? And try to tell you that it's not disease, it's this, but you know, I couldn't find. I mean, you type that in Google and a whole bunch of places come up, specifically in Florida. So yeah, I found it hilarious that someone out there got so pressed about what I said about Tizzy. The truth, by the way, right? I showed videos that are filmed by Tizzy himself. And if this was a lawyer, they didn't stop to sit there and tell Tizzy, dude, we can't really, you know, go after the JTH show or you know, myself, because it's something that you film yourself, dude. They're critiquing your own work. Not to mention, you're an artist, you're a director, you're a actor, you have an IMBD, for God's sake. Like, so this is ridiculous, right? So two things. I was telling my wife about this yesterday. We're having a good laugh. It's either a very passionate follower of Tizzy that's pissed off, right? That I made a video, you know, harming the image he has of his godly, you know, human Tizzy, or it's Tizzy himself. And I don't think Tizzy would stoop this low and would be this dumb to do this. So I'm not gonna say it's Tizzy. I really don't think it is. But I found it hilarious, right? That you know, people out there get so pissed off to the point where they try to lawyer themselves, you know, give themselves these accolades and like, I'm gonna go after you. And I kind of expected this from followers from Modern Warrior, but never from Tizzy. So I found it very interesting. Listen, and for everyone else, right, that watched the video that got pissy, because the vast majority of you guys agree with my video, but some of you guys didn't. Some of you guys were, you know, telling me like, oh, come on, you're reaching. Listen, I present the facts. It is up to you to make your mind up, right? A lot of people were in the comments saying, oh, I'm totally not a Tizzy follower. I'm just here because I don't agree with you. Sure. Okay. Yeah, you're not a Tizzy follower, but you're wasting your time messaging a guy that you don't agree. Okay, whatever. Listen, again, I presented the facts. You make your mind up. If I'm reaching, then I'm reaching. It's the same thing that I've done with all the other content creators. With Dinesh, I said he's a narcissist, and here's the facts. With Modern Warrior, I said he's a closeted bigot, racist. Here are the facts, right? Even with On Camera, when I said, hey, there's something definitely not okay upstairs, and then I presented the facts where, you know, she herself said, yeah, you know, I take, you know, medication because sometimes I'm off my meds and I'm off the rail. So at every single turn, when I presented things to you guys, I present the evidence. It's up to you guys to make your mind up over it or not, right? But anyways, I thought that was hilarious. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Please make sure you guys leave a comment. Make sure you guys hit that thumb, and if you can, make sure you guys subscribe, okay, and ring the notification. But yeah, that's it, and until next time, see ya.